the mirror, I felt a creeping sense of unease, as though I didn't belong in this world. It wasn't a feeling that had been with me all my life, but something that had crept up on me slowly over the past few months. At first, I thought it was just stress or a result of being overworked. But as time passed, the feeling grew stronger, gnawing at my insides like a worm burrowing deeper into the earth. The mirror stood in my bedroom, tall and imposing, framed in dark mahogany. It had been there since I moved into this old house 6 months ago, a relic from the previous owner who had disappeared without a trace. I never thought much of it. After all, it was just a mirror. But lately, it had become the source of my discomfort. Every time I glanced at my reflection, I felt like I was staring at a stranger. My own eyes looked back at me, but there was something off, something almost hollow. My face was the same, yet there was a detachment in the expression, like my reflection was mimicking me rather than being me. I would blink, and for a fraction of a second, I swore my reflection didn't blink back. At first, I laughed it off, convincing myself that I was imagining things. Just tired, I'd say, rubbing my eyes and shaking off the eerie feeling. But the more I ignored it, the worse it got. Sometimes, I would catch my reflection staring at me out of the corner of my eye, a twisted grin curling up its lips, vanishing the moment I turned to look directly. It was impossible. It had to be a trick of the light, a figment of my imagination. Right? I decided to test it one night. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my own reflection. I blinked, raised my hand, and waved. My reflection mirrored every movement perfectly. I let out a relieved sigh, feeling silly for even thinking something was wrong. But just as I was about to turn away, I saw it. My reflection's eyes didn't follow me. They stayed fixed, unblinking, as a sly, almost sinister smile spread across its face. I stumbled back, heart pounding in my chest. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. I looked again, but everything was normal. My reflection was staring back at me, mirroring my frightened expression. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to calm myself down. But a chill had settled in the room, and I felt like I was being watched, even when I wasn't looking at the mirror. Over the next few days, things got worse. The feeling of not belonging, of being out of place, grew stronger. I started having nightmares, horrible, vivid dreams where I was trapped in a dark, suffocating space, banging on invisible walls while my reflection stood outside, watching me with that same twisted smile. I would wake up drenched in sweat, gasping for breath, and every time I would see my reflection, standing there in the darkness, just a bit too close to the surface of the glass. I decided to cover the mirror. I draped an old sheet over it, thinking it would make the problem go away. But the nightmares continued, and soon I began to hear things, soft, almost imperceptible whispers coming from beneath the sheet, as if someone was trying to speak to me. I would catch snippets of words, barely audible, but enough to send chills down my spine. Then, one night, I heard a soft, scratching sound. It was coming from behind the mirror, like fingernails scraping against glass. I approached it, hesitating, my hand trembling as I reached out to lift the sheet. My reflection was there, but it didn't look like me anymore. Its face was distorted, eyes sunken and hollow, lips twisted into that same eerie smile. It raised a hand, and I felt a cold chill as it pressed its palm against the inside of the glass. It was trapped, trying to get out, and I was the one keeping it there. I stumbled back, dropping the sheet. This couldn't be happening. I was losing my mind. I tried to convince myself that I was just imagining things, that it was all a trick of the light. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. Something was wrong with the mirror, and whatever was on the other side wanted to take my place. I decided to get rid of it. I dragged the mirror down to the basement, shoving it into a dark corner and covering it with heavy blankets. Out of sight, out of mind, I told myself. But that night, I couldn't sleep. The nightmares were worse than ever. I dreamt that I was back in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. Only this time, it was laughing at me, mocking me. "You can't get rid of me," it said, its voice cold and hollow. "I belong here. You don't." I woke up, gasping, my heart pounding in my chest. The room was dark, but I could feel it, the cold, creeping presence of something watching me. I turned on the light, and there it was, standing at the foot of my bed, its face twisted and grotesque, grinning at me with wide, hollow eyes. The mirror had followed me. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I could feel it reaching out, pulling me towards it.
You there?
The world around me began to blur, and for a moment, I felt like I was falling, tumbling through a dark, endless void. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in the mirror, looking out at my own bedroom. But I wasn't alone. My reflection was there, standing beside me, smiling. "Welcome," it said, its voice echoing in the darkness. "You belong here now." I tried to move, to run, but my feet wouldn't budge. I was trapped, staring out at my own room, watching as my reflection, stepped out of the mirror, stretching its limbs as if savoring the freedom. It turned to me, its smile widening. "Don't worry," it said. "I'll take care of everything. I'll live your life for you, better than you ever could." I pounded on the glass, screaming, but no one could hear me. I watched, helpless, as it walked out of my room, leaving me behind, trapped in the cold, dark world on the other side of the mirror. Days turned into weeks, and I was still there, stuck in that suffocating space, staring out at the world that was no longer mine. I could see my reflection living my life, wearing my clothes, talking to my friends, pretending to be me. And no one noticed. No one knew that the real me was trapped in the mirror, watching, screaming, unable to escape. Sometimes, when the room is quiet and the lights are dim, I can still hear it laughing, a low, mocking chuckle that echoes through the darkness. It's a reminder, a taunt, that I'm never getting out. And now, every time someone looks into the mirror, I see them, just for a moment, before they turn away. I see their confusion, their unease, as if they can sense that something is wrong. They don't belong here, but neither do I.